Hey everybody, Scott Johnson here, and it is time for Frogpants TV Twitter time. Twitter questions. I don't know what to call it. I think I called it something else on the title just a second ago. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Call what you want. This is your chance to ask me questions over Twitter. A bunch of you did so. I'm going to answer a whole bunch of them here. Let's not waste a ton of time. Let's just get right freaking to it, all right? Question number 1. This comes from Revenar_AIE. Says, Scott Johnson, how many Steam games have you purchased but never played? The answer to that is complicated. Or simple. Many. Probably of the 250 or so games I have on Steam, probably a good 30 or 40 of those have not been played. I don't know what that percentage is like or if that's close to what other people would experience, but definitely I feel like there are a chunk of experiences that I only bought on sales that I really wish I would have played but haven't, and maybe one day I'll get back to those. Maybe we'll do them right here on FPTV. We'll have to see. So there's your answer. Bill Meeks sends this one in, says, how do you respond to rumors that you are, in truth, a human male? Well, I would say, if you don't believe me, the quickest way to figure that one out is to have me whip out my man wiener, and I'm not going to do that here on the show. Sorry. Next up, Patrick Delahanty says, Scott Johnson, when do we get more Autopilot show? # not soon enough. Well, Patrick, I don't know how soon enough is for you, but for me, it's this fall. So watch for brand new episodes of Autopilot at autopilotshow.com coming out this fall. Me, Tom Merritt, new shows. Let's do this. Next question comes from Steven Denson, who says, Scott Johnson, name your favorite comfort movie, a movie you could watch again and again and still have fun each time watching it. All right, so this is a hard question, but I think the answer is probably Serenity. For whatever reason, I don't get tired of that movie. I've seen it 21 times. The only movie I may have seen more is Empire Strikes Back, and that's on that list too. So there are a list of movies that I love that I would call perfect movies, and they go kind of like this. Serenity is one of those movies. I love the show too, don't get me wrong. Man, I love that movie. Empire Strikes Back, the original Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones at his best, in my opinion. A movie called Avalon, which I love and I could watch over and over if you let me. Time Bandits. It's a big list and it grows all the time. But for this question, to make it nice and concise, let's say 2005's Serenity. Next question, Troy Mulkey. Z-Boim on Twitter says, Scott Johnson, if heaven were an eternal reenactment of your favorite memory, what would you pick? Probably the moments where my children learned to say dad. I know it sounds cheesy, and it is a little bit, even to my ears, it sounds a little cheesy. But those were big moments in my life, so if I could recreate that over and over, and the feeling that comes with that, as being recognized as their father, I would reproduce that over and over and over, and I would love that. So there's your answer. Next up, Jordan Edward Drake, who is Drake920 on Twitter, said, Scott Johnson, how were the graphics? The graphics were fine. Okay. All right. Next up, Steve Coop. Soup. Not Coop, Soup. Steve Soup says, by the way, he's Heretic721 on Twitter. Scott Johnson, which new kid on the block is your favorite new kid on the block and why? I could not tell you standing here any of the names of the new kids on the block who are now old farts on the block. I have no idea, but I will say this to my niece, if she ever sees this. Her name is Lexi. You think One Direction is never going away, and you think that your fanness, your fandom, there you go, your fandom, your love for One Direction will never die, will never go away. So sorry to break it to you. You got like 3 years left and then it's done. Over. This comes to us from Sarah, a college grad. CS Pokey on Twitter says, Scott Johnson, how many hours of sleep did you get during Nerdtacular? The answer is a simple one. I got about a total of 5. So about 3 hours first night, 2 hours next night, and then home after that. And I slept like a baby when I got home. Seth Peterson, a.k.a. Savage Gentry on Twitter, says, Scott Johnson, what does Terpster or the_T do when he's not on the instance? We keep him in a box, and he is only allowed to eat pigeons and sing rap songs. I guess he'd be rapping rap songs with me. He's a busy guy. Works for a big company in the UK and has no time for anything but the instance on the outside. So we are honored to have him with us. Andrew Balcom says, Scott Johnson, how did Nerdtacular start? Did Kim think you were crazy when you pitched the idea to her? Nerdtacular started in 2007. It was started as a way to get a bunch of local fans together and I rented a movie theater, completely rented it out, and said, here's a big space, let's go see a movie. In that case, it was Spider-Man 3. I know, we didn't know it was bad. That was the problem with the old Nerdtaculars. We'd pick a movie based on what we hoped it would be, but oftentimes it would disappoint us. Dark Knight was awesome in 2008. 2009 was Star Trek, and that was good. That worked out well. 2010 was Iron Man 2, which was not as good as Iron Man 1. And I'm missing one there. Which one am I missing? I think that's it. That's the last time we did a movie. So yeah, we did Spider-Man 3, and we filled the theater up, and again, it was a bunch of local folks, and it was fun. It was great to see everybody, but it was just this one afternoon thing, and then we were done. And every year we built on that and built on that and built on that. Now it's become this weird 2-day convention, and way more people come, and it's a much bigger deal. So that's how it started. The answer to the other part of the question, did Kim think I was crazy when I pitched it? I didn't actually pitch it. It's like I just sat her down and said, all right, honey, I've got a proposal here. Let's have a little conversation and talk about the business at hand. It doesn't work like that in our relationship. The entire thing is a team effort. So as it started to grow, she has been like, we should do this. Like, most of the ideas for some of the expansion we've done have come from her. And if she had her way, this thing would be even bigger than it is now. She loves to see it grow and happen. So it was never anything I had to ask for permission for. It was always a thing that, if anything, she was the one that was spearheading more than me. So anyway, hope that answers your question. Next up, Murdering Goldfish. Ascetless, ASETLSIS on Twitter. So Scott Johnson, would you like to come on my show, Tyrion's Landing, and talk about Game of Thrones? The answer to that question is yes. I'm very hard to nail down on time, so we have to get a little lucky with that. But I love Game of Thrones, and I like being on people's shows. I like being asked to be a guest. So get in touch with me, and we'll talk about it and figure it out. Digi says, 362 days ago, I asked you about how you stay organized, focused, and productive. Want to answer that one? Sure, Digi. Let me answer that for you in the best way I know how. I am still not very organized, still not very focused, and sometimes not very productive. That may seem contrary to what I'm actually outputting, but part of what I do is kind of a controlled chaos. And even though I try to rein that in and figure out ways to sort of tie all that stuff down, I like getting things done, meaning the program, not the actual act of getting things done. So I've tried to implement that in my life a couple of times. I'm kind of sort of doing that now. It's sort of kind of working out okay. But honestly, a lot of it is just kind of instincts and going for it. And even this video I'm making right now, totally decided to do this on a whim today. Didn't plan it. I have other things I have to do. I don't know why I'm doing this right now, but I decided to do this anyway, because that's what my gut said to do. So go with your gut. Andrew Balcom wrote in, says, what movie is the top of your list for shame? The movie you're most embarrassed to have seen or have not seen. I read that wrong. What movie is at the top of your list of shame? The movie you're most embarrassed to have not seen yet. For me, it's an easy, simple answer, and I mean to rectify this soon, and it's embarrassing. I think people care about this movie a lot more than I gave it credit for. It's not that I didn't want to see it or had any other reason not to see it. I've never seen The Godfather. I've seen bits, pieces, little things here and there, a short clip online of a horse's head in the bed, and I get it. I know what's going on. I've never seen The Godfather, like, start to finish, like, sat down and proper watched it. So there are other movies on that list, but I think that's probably number one for me. And somewhere on that list is Apocalypse Now, another film from the same director. And I think I would do myself a favor by watching both those. So thanks for the reminder. J. Peter Ross wrote in, says, Scott Johnson, if you could live in any video game world, which one would it be? And don't pick Candy Crush. Not a problem. I hate Candy Crush with a fiery passion. I would pick Super Mario 64 for the N64. I remember that, getting into that game and feeling the most magical, insane feeling of creativity and imagination and color and distance and detail. I think that would be a really fun place to hang out. I mean, it'd be really weird in real life, and Goombas are weird, and, you know, like, what would you do in there? But there is something about that world that constantly inspires me. So Nintendo does that for me with most of their games, and I love the world. The 3D world of Mario is very interesting to me. Chris, a.k.a. CS Shotgun 123, I wonder if he plays Counter-Strike. Will we ever see a Frogpants TV show with you playing Skyrim? I don't know. People interested in that? Send me an email. You want to watch me play Skyrim? I still play it. I love it. I just got the Dragonborn DLC finally. Maybe I'll play through that. Stream it maybe? Do it on Twitch? Maybe not. Maybe put it here. I don't know. You guys get to decide. Send me emails. Scott@frogpants.com. Next up, Jamie Ruiz Alvia. 10 Sore Guy on Twitter says, Scott Johnson, do you agree that Tin Cup is in fact the most underrated Costner film? Incorrect. The most underrated Costner film is Waterworld. Duh. Okay? Duh. I love that movie. So, Tin Cup is good, don't get me wrong. There's some fine stuff happening there, but for me, all about Waterworld. Russell Beeman wrote in, can you do a shout out? It's my last weekend before basic training. Russell, good luck. Thank you for your service and have a fantastic time. And I hope that you can still get a hold of Frogpants stuff while you're there and other cool things you want. Yeah, good luck though. Good luck, Russell. Shout out to Russell. Stephen Herringlinger, Stephen Herg on Twitter says, Scott Johnson and Coverville, referring to Brian Ibbett, what year did Discovery Channel and TLC trade places from one to the other, being lame to awesome? I don't know when it happened, but it is very clear that it did. TLC freaking sucks, and Discovery is rad. For the most part. There's some problems with Discovery here and there, but for the most part, Discovery has it going on. They stayed true to what they were supposed to be, and they're still entertaining and fun without giving up on the cool science and the focus on learning and stuff like that. TLC is a big rotting pile of human waste, and I don't know what happened there. Jason, Free Ranger 1352 says, Scott Johnson, how can you like the gameplay for Last of Us in the single-player game, but not games like Splinter Cell? They're similar stealth games. I would argue that they are not. Here's why. Splinter Cell games are boring. Last of Us is not boring. I don't know how to tell you otherwise. I played lots of stealth games. I like stealth games. You got me wrong here. I am not a stealth hater. I just think it's hard to do it right, and a few games do it right. Mark of the Ninja, one of the best stealth games ever made. Came out last year. It's fantastic. Get it cheap on Steam. On sale right now. On sale. Or, I think Last of Us has really good stealth gameplay. So, Splinter Cell needs to shake things up, and I hope they do, because I used to like that series. I hope it gets better. Gospel Tweet wrote, Scott Johnson, do you stop collecting Stormtroopers, or did I? No, I will forever collect them. Hold on. Here's one right here. That is just one of many. I have a ton of these, and I will keep doing it as long as I keep finding them. People send them to me, and my wife buys them. All right? All right. Salem AOA on Twitter says, what first got you into podcasting? What has been the most difficult part of it? What got me into it? I mean, I was recording a show in the 90s when all there was, late 90s, when all there was MP3s, and there was no RSS or any of that stuff. What got me into it was just the love for radio, and then suddenly I could make these things and put them online, and I didn't have to work at a radio station to do it, or go through all those hoops or whatever. So I was interested long before it was called that. I got very interested when it started to be a thing you could really do with RSS, and when Apple threw their support behind it and everybody else kind of got behind it. Now it's just a thing, and I love it, and I'm glad I got into it. But yeah, it's been like 1998, I want to say, when I first started dipping my toe into creating audio for the internet. It's only now that things make sense. Eric Anderson says, what's the best way to develop a listenable podcast personality? I don't know. If I am that, because you think I'm that, right? So if I'm that thing, that is just a love for the medium and then working hard at it and doing it a lot so that you get better at it. It's just practice. It's the same as anything. How do you become a better snow shoveler? Shovel a lot of snow, damn it. Oak Stout wrote in and says, how do you like your eggs? Hard-boiled, fried, poached, or frozen for later use? Pretty much prefer, in every case, unless I can't have it this way, always omelet all the time. Big fat omelet full of too much stuff, mushrooms and stuff like that, dude. That's what I want. Johnny Feisty wrote in, any creative areas you wish you had more time to explore? Yes, filmmaking and animation. Those two things fascinate me, and I would love to do more in that area. And I'm working on a couple of projects, but animation especially, I would love to do something. And I'm not really that interested in like 3D animation or Maya or any of that. I'm interested in good old-fashioned, straight-up 2D cell animated something. Flash even, whatever. I want to do more in there. Alex Banks wrote in, says, what was the first podcast you ever recorded? It was a show called Infiltration Radio, and it was a little show I was doing for a mod that was made for the Infiltration mod. That was the mod. It was made for, Unreal Tournament was the game, and Infiltration was a mod for it. It was this real world, real weapons game where for the first time ever you could look down the iron sights of an assault rifle. Now that's like commonplace and everyone does it, but long before the Call of Duties and long before Far Cry and long before all these other games where you could shoot down the side of a gun, this game let you do that, and it was unbelievable. Unreal, I almost said. And I used to do a show to support that mod. And it was called Infiltration Radio, and I have no idea where you can find those. Good luck. Epic Diapers wrote in, how do I convince my wife that we should spend money and set aside room in the house for just podcasting/video projects? You can't do it as a cold open. You can't just cold call your wife and go, money, room, go. For me, it took years of proving the concept. And it wasn't even with her. It was both of us saying, all right, well, is this big enough that we need to expand this? What do we do? When do we spend money? How much do you spend? How much do you push back into the business like that? How much risk do you take? How much debt do you go into? And how much room do you take in your house? It just takes time. You can't do it all at once. And your kids are too little. You got to let them grow up a little bit, I think. That helped me a lot to have my kids grow up. Ryan J. Smith wrote in, he's gaming savant on Twitter, says, Scott Johnson, where should I go out to eat for dinner? I will not tell you where to go eat. I will tell you where not to go eat. And where not to go eat is Applebee's. All right? Don't go there. Unless they want to sponsor the show, and then we'll see what we can do. Clad Jameer says, what type of drawing gives you the greatest pleasure? The kind where I have no deadline, nobody breathing down my neck, nobody trying to design things for me, but where I can just create freely without any kind of expectation. Just draw. Doesn't matter style, type, medium, digital, not digital, just to sit down and just go and just brain fart all over the place. That's what I like to do the most. Penultimate question from Ro Wow on Twitter. Hey Ro, it's on my raid team. Which second tier comic book character deserves to have a movie, and would you want to direct it? Or who would I want to? I don't want to. Second tier comic book character. For me, it's Aquaman. And directing it, I mean, it's easy to say, Christopher Nolan should direct all comic book hero movies. I don't actually even care who does it. I just think somebody could do some real justice to that character. He's treated badly for the most part. I'd like to see some real love thrown in Aquaman's direction. Turn things around for that character. It's a very tall order, but somebody could probably do it. So I'd like to see that. Our last question. This also from Epic Diapers. How hot do you like your buffalo wings? Sweet, mild? Do you prefer the experience or to experience the ring of fire afterwards? I like them medium hot. I like them hot while I'm eating them. I don't like to die after. I don't like ghost pepper challenges or any of this crap. I just want to eat my wings. I want to enjoy them. I want them to be a little on the spicy side, and then I want to get the hell out of there. That's going to do it for Twitter questions this time. If you guys like this and enjoyed it, tell me in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, and all that stuff. If you do, we'll do more of these, okay? That sounds great. We'll see you guys next time.